It's the last month of 1977. The mornings smell like damp tarmac and petrol. Britain is running late. Again. This is how Series 1 ends. No studio lights, no champagne send-off, just 3 machines waiting outside in the cold. The first one starts with a cup of espresso. The badge says Alfa Romeo. The silhouette says company car. But there's nothing polite about how it moves. The engine's up front, the gearbox is behind you, and the people who built it all had something to prove. A few parking spaces away, there's a Saab with chrome window trim and paint the color of bad weather. You sit low, you look up. Everything you touch feels like it came from a cockpit, not a catalogue. This isn't a car for the impatient. This is for the ones who read the manual. And parked just far enough away to catch your eye is the Toyota Celica Liftback 2000 GT. It doesn't need to shout. It just waits for the key, then lets the engine do the introductions. Sharp gears, tight handling, no hesitation. These 3 weren't chosen to represent the decade. They were chosen to end it. Series 1 has taken us through beige mistakes and accidental icons. But this is where it lands. One more cold start, one more look over your shoulder. This is 4 Wheels and Fuel, Episode 9. The final drive begins here.
Alfa Romeo, quando la tecnologia è arte.
Alfa Romeo Alfetta 2000. In 1977, Alfa Romeo decided the company car park needed shaking up. Not with stripes or spoilers, but with engineering so complicated it could only have come from Italy. This was the Alfetta 2000, a smart-looking saloon with the soul of a mechanic's overtime sheet. The Alfetta name had been around since 1972. Back then, it came with round headlights, a smaller engine, and the kind of dashboard layout that made sense to exactly no one. But by early 1977, Alfa gave it a bigger engine, sharper lines, and rectangular headlamps that stared at you like a disapproving schoolteacher. This new version was called the 2000. It was the top of the range. It did not shout about it. It just parked slightly closer to the managing director's space and idled with a bit more drama. Under the bonnet sat a 2-liter twin-cam engine with twin carburetors. It sounded brilliant when it worked. And when it didn't, it still made noise, just not the kind you wanted. The power went to the rear wheels, but the gearbox was mounted next to the differential. This was called a transaxle layout. Alfa said it was for balance. It was also a good way to heat the back seats. The gear linkage ran the length of the car and felt like it had been made from leftover garden hose. Each shift was a journey, but once you got it into gear, the thing moved with real purpose. The rear suspension used a Dedillon setup, the sort of thing that sounds like a French wine, but really just keeps the back wheels pointing straight. The brakes were inboard. That kept weight low and mechanics angry. Inside, it was Alfa's idea of business class. The seats were broad, the dials neatly arranged in a plastic box, and 3 round vents in the middle of the console, like drain outfalls, spilling air instead of water. If something worked properly, it felt like a favor, but everything was positioned for the driver, except the radio, if you had one, in the first place, marooned halfway down the console, forcing you to fish for stations with one eye off the road. Owning one taught you patience. It wasn't cheap, it wasn't simple, but it made you feel involved. It responded to effort. It punished laziness. It gave nothing away for free. This was the flagship saloon, not because it was smooth or quiet, but because it was the only one Alfa still had by that point. It competed with BMW and Audi on paper, but on the road it played a different game entirely. One based on instinct, noise, and controlled unpredictability. You didn't buy this car to keep your tie straight. You bought it because you wanted the four-door experience with a bit of panic baked in. And it delivered.
Far back among the starters, there's a car which few people notice. An entirely car, which someday may replace the 96. It's called the Saab 99 EMS.
Saab 99 EMS. The Saab 99 was launched in 1968. At first it was offered as a two-door, and from 1970 also as a four-door. It was Saab's first clean-sheet design, after years of turning out tough, quirky machines like the 93, 96, and the Sonnet 2. This one was bigger, stronger, and slightly more serious. At least, that was the plan. By 1972, the Saab 99 received new rubber bumpers and indicators hoisted so high it looked like the 99 was raising its eyebrows at the world. And they gave it a performance trim, EMS, Electronic Manual Special, or how some would say, Extra Mean Saab. It sounded like an option on a photocopier. What it meant was fuel injection, alloy wheels with wide rims, metallic paint, black grille, leather-covered steering wheel, and a tachometer. From 1974, the EMS received a new grille and an own-specific interior. This was Saab's idea of sporty, not loud, just competent. By 1977, the 99 EMS got upgraded. It already had the new grille, but now it sprouted a new style rubber bumpers, beefier front indicators, new tail lights big enough to signal half of Sweden, and a new updated steering wheel. But it still looked unmistakably Saab. Tall, short, and slightly frowning. It kept its wraparound windscreen, thin pillars, and front end shaped like a snow shovel. It wasn't beautiful at the time, but it was prepared. Under the bonnet, things got weirder. The 2-liter engine was mounted lengthways, backwards. The clutch was at the front. The gearbox sat underneath the block. Saab claimed this improved packaging. It also made the bonnet open like a clamshell. Lifting it felt like unsheathing a mechanical briefcase. The EMS ran Bosch injection. First D-Jetronic, then K-Jetronic. The idle was uncooperative, but the throttle response was crisp. Through corners, the car leaned, settled, and gripped. The steering had weight and feedback. The ride was calm but never soft. It felt safe, composed, and quietly confident. Inside, it was a Swedish war room. High on the dash sat the round heater dials, always in your line of sight. A bank of gauges right in front of you, so you don't need to bring your reading glasses with you. The ignition switch was next to the handbrake, where Saab said it would protect your knee in a crash. Everything had a reason. You never found style for style's sake, just logic. The driver's seat was heated. The gear lever was short and solid. Visibility was perfect. It was a car designed to make bad roads manageable and good drivers feel clever. Saab owners rarely explained themselves. They didn't need to. These were the buyers who read car reviews with a highlighter pen. They looked for torque curves, crash test results, brake fade resistance. The EMS was never fashionable, but it was nearly impossible to criticize. This was the car for people who liked control, not attention. It started in the cold. It held its line in the wet. It didn't rust unless you really tried. It was built to keep going, and it usually did. Did you know? In 1977, Saab secretly built just 100 test cars with turbochargers, all disguised in the body of the 99 EMS. These rare prototypes carried about 145 horsepower and gave Saab the confidence that turbocharging could work in a family car. The real Saab 99 Turbo, however, would only enter full production in 1978. Saab 99 EMS, the car that knew the weather forecast before you did.
I want to surround you with quality, with good things, lots of them.
But we must be sensible.
No.
You asked for it. The Toyota Celica GT Liftback. At no extra cost, you get power front disc brakes, AM/FM stereo, tachometer, 5-speed overdrive transmission, and more, including great gas mileage. The new Celica GT Liftback. Quality at no extra cost.
You asked for it, you got it, Toyota.
Toyota Celica 2000 GT. The Toyota Celica story started in 1970, when the first-generation coupe appeared in Japanese showrooms as a sort of junior muscle car. It was sharp, affordable, and very nearly fun. And by 1971, European buyers got their first taste of it in right and left-hand drive, with a 1.6-liter engine and just enough attitude to make a Ford Capri nervous. But Toyota wasn't finished. In 1971, it revealed a prototype called the SV1, a fastback liftback version of the Celica, complete with a sloping rear hatch and Mustang-inspired tail. It hinted at something sleeker, stranger, and slightly more American. By 1973, the liftback became reality in Japan as the TA-27 and the RA-25 Celica 2000 GT, and for the Asian and European market as the RA-28 and TA-28, in right-hand drive only. But it would take until late 1975 for the final export version in left-hand drive to arrive globally. This was the Celica fully grown. Long bonnet, flat nose, a fastback rear that dropped off like it had been designed with a set square. The 2000 GT trim looked purposeful, and the triple vertical tail lights left no doubt about where Toyota had been looking for inspiration. Power came from the 18RG, a twin-cam 2-liter 4-cylinder with twin Mikuni side-draft carburetors. In Japanese trim, it made closer to 130 brake horsepower, but this European spec version was rated at 118 brake horsepower. That wasn't a brag, but in something this light, it still moved with energy. You had to keep the revs up. It didn't like to be rushed low down. But once the needle climbed, the twin-cam rasp came alive. The gearbox was a 5-speed manual with a clean, positive shift. Ratios were tight, and the car felt geared for spirited driving, even if most buyers just wanted to show off at the local supermarket. Rear-wheel drive gave it balance. Suspension was firmer than most Toyotas. It handled well, even if the steering took a moment to wake up. Inside, it was well thought out, if not exactly elegant. The dashboard tilted around the driver. The gauges were deep and round, centered with nothing else around to confuse you. The center console felt like it had been planned by different people. Heater sliders, fuel, temperature, oil, battery gauges, and a clock, and an ashtray all packed together. The seats were low, bolstered, and upright enough to suggest purpose. It wasn't luxurious, but it didn't feel cheap. It was just focused. And for buyers in Europe, that's exactly what made the 2000 GT stand out. It looked fast, behaved well enough, and, unlike most of its rivals, didn't require an oil top-up every Sunday. This was the final evolution of the first Celica. It wasn't exotic, but it had character. It was sharp where it mattered and simple where it counted. And after years of trying, Toyota had finally built a coupe that Europe didn't laugh at. And that wraps up our final trio of Series 1. The Celica brought Japanese precision with just enough muscle car swagger. The Saab EMS made fuel injection and velour feel vaguely heroic. And the Alfetta 2000, well, that was diplomacy, conducted via transaxle. 9 episodes, 27 cars, each one a time capsule. From choke levers and busy cockpits to dashboards that only made sense on a third try. But the road doesn't end here. Next time on Four Wheels and Fuel, we shift into 1978, and the strange keeps coming. A British hatchback rushed into production, a Spanish remix of a Fiat, a hot-blooded French shoebox, and the last wheeze of a once-great British roadster. Think budget performance, offbeat badges, and dashboards that fight back. Season 2 opens with 4 cars you probably saw parked outside your grand's house. And one of them just might surprise you. So warm up your seat, pop in the cassette, and don't miss it. Four Wheels and Fuel returns with a Sunbeam, an Alpine, a Midget, and a Seat 127. Rattling into January 1978 with nothing to prove but plenty to say.